Welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. I'm your host, Clinton Bonner, and I am joined by the one, the only, the great Brandon Schultz. And of course, you know by now, this would not be, it could not be, we cannot traverse the Seahawks multiverse without the protector of the Seahawks multiverse, Mr. Phil Leidick, down there on the bottom screen, youtube.com/Seahawkers podcast. You gotta like, you got to subscribe, or as Adam would say, do the annoying stuff. We appreciate that. Gentlemen, I'm going to turn the page on the annoying stuff because last week's game, losing to the Bengals, was annoying, and it was annoying stuff. We had to cover it. We did the job. We get to turn the page, and we get to talk about a home game versus a 1-5 Cardinals team that is ripe for the picking. So we're going to get into that today. Brandon, are you ready to turn that page? Let the Bengals be bygones and focus on the Redbirds.
I am all ready to move on. Let's get on with it. We got back-to-back games at home. Let's start things off right against the Cardinals.
Very nice. All right, Mr. Phil, so you're going to bring us through, of course, the themology. And before you get to the theme, we like to do the little segment called Previously with the Protector, where you talk about what you saw from our opponents that are coming right up. So what did you see? It was Rams versus Cardinals. Take us there. What did you see about these Cardinals that our audience and our flock? What do we got to know?
All right, hit it, Brandon. Here we go. Previously with the Protector, we're going to talk just a little bit about what we saw with the Cardinal game. And boy, it wasn't easy on the eyes watching the Lambs versus Cardinals. I have to tell you that. The Cardinals measures up better on offense than you might be surprised. It's all because of their run game. Of course, their leading running back is now out, so these numbers are probably a little skewed, but they're 15th by DVOA overall, 25th for pass, 6th against with the run in the run game. Dobbs can scramble and he can get going a little bit with his legs. He seems better off script, like better things for the Cards happen when they're not in rhythm. He stares down targets like crazy. Downfield passing should scare absolutely no defense. They had quite a few garbage air yards toward the end. I think there was one good Hollywood play that was in somewhat significant time. They run very tough. I mean, everybody, their line, our blockers, bring your lunch pail. Guys that get blocked, guys that tackle, they are going to run with some aggression. Their pass pro is sketchy, if I want to use a nice word about them. The defense, 29th by DVOA. 27th against the pass, 24th against the run. They're not good at anything on defense. They're bad in coverage. If we can protect the quarterback, they are toast. Just count on that. The red zone D was good in the first half. Bad tackling at the second and third level. Like if you get through, it seems like nobody knows how to tackle after the front four, front three. Got carved in the run game like crazy in the second half by the Lambs, just over and over and over and over. Marshawn, they were just pounding it. They made no plays on the ball in the entire second half that I saw. Nothing. No PBUs, no. And the Lambs just had their way in the second half. Any thoughts to add what you saw about the Cards against the Lambs?
If I had Josh Dobbs as my quarterback and Drew Lock as my backup quarterback, I would want to bench Josh Dobbs to get Drew Lock on the field.
I think so. And that's
just
crafty,
want to make
what
it
you
clear.
did. Yeah, what you just did was quite crafty. Anything you saw, Clinton?
You absolutely nailed it with that second half. We talked about it a couple of days ago that it was just the Kyron Williams show. And the Rams, the one piece we'll probably talk about a bit today, the Rams can run block in 11 personnel. And we talked about on 3 and 3 out that maybe we went away from 12 and 13 just 1 week too early. And the week to go heavier 11 personnel would have been against the Cardinals, and just watch the map that the Rams laid out, because they run the ball really effectively out of 11 personnel, something we've got to get better at. So it'll be interesting to see if we can this week against a team that can go get got. Let's put it that way.
And maybe with our third receiver not wearing a hand cast, maybe we could run a little better out of 11 personnel. I don't know. Just an idea.
And actually, when I was looking back at some of the plays from the last game, the more successful runs by Walker were in the 3 receiver sets versus the varying formations that they did, whether it was 12, 13, 21, 22, which I was a little surprised to see, but Yeah. Oh, early on anyway.
It's a
You were
good call
supposed
out.
to be able to do that against the Bengals. You were supposed to be able to spread them out and run on them. That
Yep.
was what supposedly could happen. I think our O-line underperformed quite a bit if you go back and watch. But.
Agree.
All right, we are going against the Cards. We're going against the Cards. And what if it's not in the Cards? That would be sad for their few fans remaining hanging in there. It'd be happy for us. If it's not on the Cards, we have 6 categories as usual. Stick around for the end where you'll get to hear the wishes from our co-hosts, the wishes from the flock, their score prediction. But right now, this is our 6th game, which means Clinton picks the first category between all of these words. Will go with the word card: shuffle, trick, calling, bank, score, or ID. Which one of these cards will you play first, Clinton?
The one that's drawing my attention, I'm not even sure why, but I feel lucky about it, is the calling card. I like the idea of a calling card. What's your calling card? You have an answer for that. You know what you do well. So what's the calling card? Where are we going?
Here we go, Clinton. Calling card. What if we talk play calling? How should our play callers utilize talent in this matchup against the Cards?
Okay, I will go to the defensive side of the ball so that I leave some juicy stuff there for my boy there, Brandon, because there's some good stuff on both sides of the ball. In the preamble and the previously with the protector, you laid out very logically what Josh Dobbs does decently, and where he leaves a lot on the table. He does not stretch the field. He doesn't really threaten too deep. Although Marquise Brown, Hollywood still gets open. Hollywood is still a good route runner. He's still got speed. That just has not gone away.
Sure.
The efficacy of connecting with him, it's low. The rate is low. So with that, what I want to see then is Dobbs looks like you could get him flustered. You can get him off his plan and off his mentals pretty darn quickly. He's a very sharp guy. That's not it. It's just that he's not that good of an NFL quarterback. So do not allow him to dink and dunk. Of course you want pressure with 4, but you could be overly aggressive with this team that you're not going to get beat deep, and it won't happen consistently because he's not a great thrower of the football. He's not accurate. So let's get crafty. Let's get the Wonder Twins right down the line. Let's get Adams and Witherspoon, and let's bring those crafty blitzes and just confuse the heck out of a rocket scientist who happens to be a very, very smart man. That would be some play calling that could really tilt it in our favor, and do it early. It early. Don't allow them to get going like we did with the Bengals. Bring some heat, bring it early. Just take Dobbs out of the game from Jump Street. That's what I want to see.
Okay. So some pressure, but maybe zone behind, because if you go man, he's got a big chance of scrambling for some big on us. What do you think, Clinton?
Well, we typically are in zone most often anyway. That's
which is advantageous against Dobbs.
Yeah, that's kind of our jam anyway. So that's what I would expect.
Okay. How about you, Brandon? Do you want to go with the Shane side of things here?
Well, why can't I go to special teams and maybe dial up some trick plays just to really, cram it down the throats of the opposing team here? But I'll go offense since Clinton was setting me up for it. I think the important thing, much like Clinton was saying, is there is kind of the desire to maybe really hang it on this Cardinals team. But I think the way to do that is through balance. And so don't be just under the impression that because the secondary looks on the weak side for this Cardinals team and really up front, I mean, the entire defense, like name me the elite player on the Cardinals defense. You would have a hard time naming the one, I think.
Saban?
Maybe.
He's not elite. He's not elite. He's noteworthy.
Just might be the best.
He's noteworthy.
You got dudes who are making noise like that guy Gardick, right?
Noteworthy guys, but you're going to say pick one of the guys off the defense to put on the Seahawks defense. Who do you pick? Like, I don't think I'd be able to do that. And yeah, maybe there might be a guy in the middle where you go, oh, well, it'd be nice to have some interior help, that sort of thing. That's not what I'm talking about. Anyway.
Yeah.
against a team like this, I would like to see balance, not go heavy on the pass, not go heavy on the run, just a nice balance. Get Ken Walker involved. Don't overly use him. Work in Zach Charbonnet a little bit. Have a mixture of DK, Tyler, involve the tight ends a little bit more, just a nice balance. And I think through that balance, you could overwhelm this Cardinals defense.
Love it. All right, then, Brandon, where are we going next? Which card category?
Go to the bank.
Take it to the bank.
And you can take that to the bank.
Nice. The bank card. Brandon, what if you're especially sure about some advantages in this matchup? What should we fans be able to bank on? We can take this to the bank in this game, Brandon.
You can take it to the bank that our outside receivers should have no problems against the Arizona Cardinals corners. You got DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett against the problem is I don't even know who is starting because Jalen Thompson, Antonio Hamilton, they're dealing with injuries. You got Keitrell Clark, who's a rookie. You got Starling Thomas, who I think is also a rookie this year. And those might be their starting outside guys.
Marco Wilson.
Marco Wilson, who, is maybe the one that you could count on out of that group, kind of playing in the playing on the outside. But I think Seahawks receivers against these defensive backs should have a day.
Yeah, he leads their team with, I think, 3 passes defensed, and he's a normal size dude. Yep. Clinton, what can we bank on in this matchup? Talent advantage.
Talent advantage is depending on, I want to see who's playing where on the offensive line. And this, what are we going to do with Curhan, right? And that just might be like, well, Abe's not playing. By the way, let's just side quill here.
Yeah.
If anybody saw Pete's interview with Brock and Salk, whatever it is on Seattle Sports.
Yeah.
He answered it he called it. He answered right away. Hey,
definitive.
How about Abe? No, not this week. That was the answer. Like just that quickly, which they said last week. Yeah, we're going to ease him back in and it's going to be a bit and we got to see it. We got to test it. I'm just saying right now, I don't think Abe plays for several more weeks. If he plays at all this year, it's super not looking trending well. So what are we doing at right tackle? Is it Curhan? I think in this game, it probably ought to be because I want to see us really reestablish the run the same way that the Rams did it. The Rams, besides throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp for the most part in the second half and just getting first down yards from him, they ran the ball. Kyron Williams, they just ran the ball down the Cardinals' throat. They pushed them around for like literally 2.5 quarters. I hate the Rams. It was still a joy to watch that they could just body move these people. So if you got Bradford and you got Curhan, well then, golly gee, runs to the right-hand side where K9 is having the kind of day that maybe could have had last week too if we stuck to it a bit more or schemed a bit better. So that to me is that's the big matchup. Take it to the bank. K9 over 80 yards. K9 likely getting in the end zone. And if it's not 80 for K9, then it's, a 50 burger for Charbonnet and K9's over 60, 70. Lots of yards on the ground. Take it to the bank. We're going to
over 100 from our running backs. Banking on it. Brandon's trying to add something here.
Well, I wanted to interrupt Clinton, but I wanted to see where he was going with it because I was not sure based on his answer that he understood the question.
Some advantages in this matchup. What should fans
where are you especially sure about advantages? And you went to right tackle and Jake Curhan.
Because he's a good run blocker. Because he's a good run blocker.
Right.
That was a method to the madness, right? Yeah. He's a good run blocker.
Jake Curhan, good run blocking.
Yes, and they play the right-hand side. If we follow the bouncing ball, take it to the bank. There you go.
We can take something else to the bank about their other kind of
I'm going to take it to the bank.
Their other kind of blocking we could take to the bank in the last game, unfortunately.
Yeah.
You guys.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that was funny. All right. So, Clinton, you are up. Shuffle, trick, score, or ID card.
I'm not much for big government, so let's go scorecard.
Scorecard. Here we go. And this is exactly not quite what you think it might be. And I'll make it clear. We're not talking about the final score. We'll get to that later. As you're scoring things and various stats, what if you each, starting with Clinton, give me your key stat threshold for this game? What statistical success would you say? This happens, we can nearly count on a victory. This can assure a victory if this happens, Clinton.
32% pressure rate on Josh Dobbs.
Okay.
We win the game going away. Daniel Jones was upwards of 46%. And by the way, Geno was upwards of 46% against him versus the Bengals. So just give the dude a little bit of grace. And so I'm not quite calling for that. In fact, I'm calling for quite a lower number percentage wise, but saying 32% pressure rate on Dobbs, and we get him making some Dobbs like mistakes at that point. We don't give him easy stuff. He's got to make split decisions, makes the wrong reads, and that things just compile for us in a good way. But we got to put the pressure on him and be committed to it. That's still a pretty high rate, but it's achievable.
Love it. Pressure him a third of the time. We win. Brandon, other than the final score, what's a key stat threshold to almost assure a victory for us?
I think one other thing that's complementary to what would also work for what Clinton's saying is if the Cardinals are throwing the ball at greater than 60% of the day, because that tells me that the Seahawks defense is stopping their run game. And
our number one run defense,
our number one run defense is going to have an opportunity with James Conner out to continue to hold. And as long as they continue to hold, and part of the run game too is Dobbs, because he can get outside the pocket, he can move around, and he can absolutely be one of those guys that can beat your defense if you're not watching out for him. So I would include him in terms of the run play percentage. But if they're having to throw the ball 60% of the time or more, I think it's because they're playing at a deficit, and that benefits our defense.
I love both of these answers. And as soon as you said them, I'm like, that's a nail. That is a nail in the game if one of those happens. If both, it's like, forget it. Pack it up. We got to blow out. And I think it's Brandon next. We can shuffle the deck. We can have trick cards or ID cards. Where are you going?
All right. I guess ID cards is big government like Clinton.
Oh, and that's what you want then? The big government ID card? All right. Everybody has to have one at some level. They start you off in school, give you these ID cards, so you just get giving your life up to the man. Here we go. ID cards. ID cards. What if you've identified some cardinals of concern? Now, what you said earlier makes me think there aren't any on the defense, but some cardinals of concern. What players should we fans be aware of, Brandon?
Yeah, on offense, I'm going to go with Rondale Moore, just because he's one of those guys that without a running back, he's a guy that they can line up in the backfield. He's kind of a Deebo Samuel light type player. Yeah. And so they can run the ball with him. They can throw short screens to him. He's also kind of their slot guy who in past games we've tended to have a little bit of trouble with, run him over the middle and see, where the Seahawks defense, who they're going to tend to guard him with. Is it going to be Spoon or Jamal? Is it going to be Bobby? The Cardinals are going to have to try and create a mismatch somewhere. And I think Rondale Moore would be one of those guys to try and do that with. And so I'm going to be particularly concerned about him.
They will try, but I think that's all they're going to do is try, because we got Spoon, we got Jamal, and I look forward to him trying. But good call on that, Rondale. Have you ID'd some Cardinals of concern for this game, Clinton?
There's a few. Even on the offensive side, they have more talent that's just kind of not known yet on the offensive side.
Yeah, that's right.
And they're pretty good. Like Michael Wilson, rookie out of Stanford, he's showing he's a pretty good receiver. So if you start seeing, Wilson a couple of times in the game, but like, all right, well, at least you're kind of aware of this dude's presence. Then last week, Trey McBride showed up. He's their second-year tight end, and they always have Zach Ertz. So Zach Ertz has been a bit of a killer for us for a few years now. but they have 2 good tight ends, and they actually have I would say, just not yet known receiving core that's actually, they're okay. They're pretty good young ballers. So that side is still the most intriguing to me in terms of like, we should be aware of those dudes. And you put it up on the screen earlier. Their DVOA is 15th. And yes, it took some pain when they lost Connor, for sure. But they're not functional on offense. You've got to get to Dobbs and make him just get a little bit, like I said, feel the heat, feel the pressure, and not be able to go through his progressions. He's extremely smart, very smart dude. If you play soft zones and let dudes like Michael Wilson sit there, he'll get you. So that's the place where I think we have to be most aware of. Just on the defensive side, I will say, in general, I'm not trying to give the Arizona Cardinals a lot of credit, but I think they're playing extremely hard for their coach, Coach Gannon. Yeah. They're playing hard, and they are not afraid to blitz. They're not afraid to bring what we like exotic packages right up front and then stunt off those things to try to confuse. Now, it's not always working, and they have struggles in the DB area. So teams can go get theirs and you can expose them, but they play pretty aggressively. They're not afraid to try. And at 1-5, they don't care. They're just like, let's try. Let's just dump it out there. Dudes are playing for contracts. Dudes are playing for, NFL careers. And it's not about the win-loss for those. Yes, they want to win. They're all competitors. Those dudes are trying to show out so they could get their second contract or just start to build a new culture. They're not going to roll over. So I wanted to give a little bit on both sides of the ball. Yeah. The defensive side is more just the fact that it's going to be a little bit more exotic looking than you think. It's not plain vanilla defense. They're pretty interesting to watch. They just don't have the personnel to match the chutzpah yet, but that will probably come in a couple of years.
They try to heat things up.
I didn't go super deep because I wanted to leave some meat on the bone for Clinton.
Yeah, that was nice, Brandon.
And then I went very, very broad. So thank you.
You got to go deep if you're going to talk about Cardinals defenders, because they might try to heat things up, but typically they get toasted. So scrappy though.
Nice wordplay. They are scrappy. They really are.
Okay, well, it's up to you, and you got to pick between the final two.
Well, I don't like big government, so give me the shuffle.
Going with the shuffle. Icky's already gone.
It means nothing.
Did you just make this up?
I don't know.
Okay, here we go. We're going to shuffle some things up.
It's for fun.
Shuffling the cards. What if I was worried you guys were going to answer this before we got to this, and it seemed like we were poking at it, but we didn't quite. So I'm glad we saved some here. Thanks to Brandon and his skills of leaving meat on the bone. Clinton, what if we shuffle a section of our team? Which position group would you shuffle? That doesn't mean we throw it away. That doesn't mean we toss them. We just shuffle things up a little bit in one of our position groups. Where should we do that?
All right. Good question. So on the rewatch of the Bengals game, JSN was 4 for 48, I want to say.
Yeah. Right? On 5 targets.
Yeah. On 5 targets. And there was a gigantic missed opportunity. There was one where he's coming across and it's Gino. I don't get it. Again, we talked about it and we're leaving it in the past. Gino did not, pull the proverbial trigger on a wide open JSN. So where I am not fixated on, we have to have the JSN game. I don't particularly care like when that happens. It will happen. This is the team that I was saying on 3 and 3 out, where we can do more 11 personnel, and we can, and I expect that JSN will actually have that. Okay, he's starting to arrive game. He was almost there last week. If he just gets that one deep shot that he should have been hit on, then he would have been like a 90-yard, 1 touchdown game, and we would have won that game. So that's the bit of shuffle. I feel we could be a little bit riskier, more risk on for this game, do more 11 personnel on purpose, but also execute it better this week than we did last week. That's the shuffle for me. We don't have to. The one thing I would love to avoid, let me put it that way too, is I think we were a week early with abandoning or doing less 12 and 13 personnel. We didn't get the result we wanted. This is the game. I don't want to go backwards this game. This shouldn't be, okay, go back to 12 and 13. No, not against this Cardinals team. Evolve and get better at the 11 personnel, because we got teams coming down, down really, really soon, where we're going to have to outscore them. So let's get good at that. That's my answer.
So when you talked position group shuffle and you brought up receiver, I thought you were going to say more Bobo, less DK or something, but you're just talking about with the 5 ones that we can switch out on offense. You wouldn't mind seeing a bigger percentage of 13 versus, or no, a bigger percentage of 11 versus 13 and 12. That was what.
Yeah, I don't want to see a retraction. Last week was too much 11, in my opinion, given the scenario. Okay. I don't want to see us retract from that now because it didn't work in 1 week. It's like, no, even throttle it more this week. I think it could be successful against what is not a very strong defensive back unit.
So more personnel package shuffling on our possessions and snaps. Brandon, how would you like to answer this question that I thought I asked a little differently than that, Brandon?
Yeah, well, I wasn't even sure if we were talking about shuffling, just if there were positions on the Cardinals that we wanted to switch over. And I wasn't sure where Clinton was going to go with it either. So I'm glad he got to go first with this one. I think mine kind of ties in with Clinton's though, because whereas if you have that plan to go heavy 3 receivers in a game like this one, you also want to have a plan to shift it to say, what if the Cardinals are getting pressure still on this group of offensive linemen? Do you stick with personnel packages, or do you shift some of or shuffle, as the question is worded, some of your offensive linemen? You could move Evan Brown to left guard if, in place of Phil Haynes.
Yeah.
I'm kind of liking Bradford at right guard, but then you have Oluwatimi who could come in and play some center. Curhan, if he's not getting the job done, do you look at Jason Peters to fill out that right side, or shoot? Maybe you keep Evan Brown at center and you see what Jason Peters can do in at guard next to Cross, and at least you have quite a few options on the offensive line for doing some of that shuffling if you still want to stick with some of those similar personnel packages as last week.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see if they'll shuffle with the O-line a little bit, because there's definitely some possibilities. I mean, we can bring Stone over to right tackle. I've heard Peters possibly at right tackle. I know Clinton really wants Curran to stay there, and he does look good in the run game, but boy, I have a little PTSD from some of his pass pro last week, but maybe he'll be fine. A lot of it might have to do with this injury too, right? I mean, I think uninjured Curhan is a decent backup. Injured Curhan, I don't know if we want to keep doing that.
Yeah, it was tough. But what is up with Delu? Is Delu, like, I know he was doubtful last week and then obviously didn't play. Is he on? What's up? I know it's only Wednesday, so tough to say, but do we know anything about Delu's trajectory at this point?
I haven't heard yet, but that's a huge loss too.
I mean, gigantic. I mean, that alone, not to say it's a shuffling, but just kind of getting back to normal, is getting him back at left guard would be tremendous.
Yeah, the injury reports have not come out yet, and we're mid-afternoon on Wednesday for the listeners. It's probably going to come out soon what Delu is up to, but he's huge, not just a huge man. He's huge in the performance of our offense. Underrated for sure.
Yeah.
But good call out in terms of Stone, because we saw one snap for Stone Forsythe where they lined him up at tight end, and that was the 4th play of the game against the Bengals, and they never brought him back out on the field.
Wow.
And Phil didn't look the same on the other side. And maybe he's like me. He's just a one-handed, very strong on one thing. So that, Phil's could be that way sometimes. You can play one way, not the other. I don't know. I'll leave it at that. Okay, we got one category left, Brandon. Would you like to go to trick plays?
I would like to.
Okay, well, I'm glad you would, because we're going there anyway. Brandon, what if the cards deceive us? What might they be sneaky good at? Something they could be sneaky good at, those dastardly little Cardinals.
I think they can be sneaky good at putting pressure on, like Clinton was talking about earlier, sending some of those blitzes, doing stunts in ways that could be confusing, especially if you have Phil Haynes playing on the opposite side. You got Anthony Bradford. I think that could allow them to find a way, especially watching what some of the Bengals players did last week. I know they may not have the talent, but if they use the extra personnel and they're able to get that extra pressure just because the line is wearing down a little bit with all the backups, if they find something to exploit, and with the way that they've just been playing extra, like Clinton mentioned, they are playing for Gannon, and so they could be sneaky good at in terms of their effort, and that could provide some challenges.
We don't want to be tricked this week, Clinton, as we play the cards. We gotta have this. What should we watch out for? They might be sneaky good at.
Yeah. So besides being a bunch of tryhards, and they are, and that's coaching and culture. And again, a little tip the cap. Their running back room, you got Ingram, you've got Demarcado, Amari, and you got Damian Williams back there also. Like that same Damian Williams you're remembering from, like, having to grab a dude off the waiver wire, Damian Williams of fantasy football, and he got like eight touches last week. They also, but I think the sneaky part is what Brandon mentioned earlier. They will use, and they had begun to use, once Connor went out, Rondell Moore in the Deebo Samuel light package. And that can be harrowing, for our Seahawks, when it's some other dude getting the ball, like in Wildcat and things of that nature, that we don't expect to be handling the ball so much. It hasn't been great for our Seahawks, like harkening back to the New Orleans Saints game last year with what's his face that we couldn't stop, number 7.
Taysom Hill.
Yeah, there you go, Taysom Hill. Yeah, with the Taysom Hill game of the century, right? We tend to struggle, is the best way to put it, when it's like the unsuspecting guy and they're leaning on him. He's getting 8 to 10 touches out of the blue. So if we start to see a lot of Rondell Moore, the Boilermaker, back there with a lot of touches in the backfield, it could just make things way more difficult, where they're extending drives, where they're getting, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, so 3rd and longs, and they're converting them in non-conventional ways. That could make life more difficult than it needs to be. So that's the sneakiness I think we got to watch out for.
Gotcha. Good points. Okay. Well, definitely some concern with the cards on them tricking us, but if we play right, should be a good game. I would like to quickly, we're going to go to our wishes here in a moment, but we did have a couple answers from the flock, and Car is always gets in there with a wish, and she gave a shout out to herself in Living the Good Life. 2+ offensive scores in the red zone is her wish. Now, hopefully with a Lockett touchdown somewhere in there. We would love to see that. And then she said, hey, the double wish with me and Living the Good Life definitely helped. Definitely, and it did help. Adams played the whole game, and he was fantastic. So thank you for that. Living the Good Life piped in with the power of teamwork that made our dream work well. Red Wagon had one wish as well, but it's a one combining wish. The offense, to quote Adam, gets its poop in group, score in the red zone, stop with the dumb penalties, and move the ball well. So we are happy to wish for those, which means we move to our co-host wishes. I believe the What If Superhawk, Clinton, will give us his first one, then Brandon, then we'll go to our score predictions.
Okay, very nice. I am going to go on the theme of the mini theme of heating up Dobbs. And then, so if we talked about 32% pressure rate or higher earlier. If we heat up Dobbs, what should that lead to? It should lead to interceptions.
Ooh.
So I'm looking for a multi-interception game from our Seahawks. I don't want to call it out. Hope that's bold enough for a Superhawk there, but at least 2 interceptions or more in this game. And that would, if we can do that, I think we'll be sitting quite pretty to win this one. So 2+ interceptions from our Seattle Seahawks.
Multi-interception game. Brandon, how about you? Who's your What If Superhawk?
Well, if you wanted to be bold, Clinton, you could take Quandre Diggs to have 2 interceptions, because then he would be the only guy in the NFL to have 3 interceptions in the past 7 years. The only guy in the NFL, and all he needs is 2 more interceptions this season. So he's got a lot of time to do it. It could just be one. But my what if Superhawk this week is going to be Geno Smith, because we're talking about milestones. I brought up the one with Quandre. Geno just needs 2 touchdowns to pass Rick Meyer for 6th place on Seattle's all-time passing touchdown list at 42. So 2 red zone touchdowns by Geno Smith to make his spot, have that spot above Rick Meyer in the record books.
I like it, except I'm hoping we just bypass the red zone and throw them in before we get to the 20. But if we do it, I'll actually feel better. But, I get it. Geno, 2 red zone touchdowns. That is definitely bold. Okay, we're going to go to the score. We're going to find out that Clinton's record is still the same as the Seahawks, just as it was. It's now Clinton 3, Brandon 2. Listeners may remember last week, Clinton picked us to win 30-22 and Mafe to have 1.5 sacks. We didn't win. Mafe got 1 sack, so that was pretty close. And then Brandon picked us to win 31-29 with a Myers game-winning field goal, which would have happened if Adam was calling the 4th down, making the 4th down decisions, because we would have kicked and then Myers would have had the game winner. Or if we just hadn't thrown a pick and we kicked a field goal earlier, Myers. But you also had an anytime field goal or a significant field goal. I don't know what I was supposed to decide on a field goal.
Consequential or field goal of some significance to also achieve that record, which I think you could argue that he did.
In the Discord, I said that. I even said, somebody brought it up as a joke, and I said, you know what? I was like, that counts. I'm like, a 55-yarder, the time they did it, when we needed it. I'm like that. Oh yeah, I was like, that counts. I'm like, that's good.
Don't give it to me based on the score.
I gave it to you based on the conditions on the 55 yards. I was like, that counts. I was like, take it. I was happy to. That was
the murkiest wish I ever had to decide. But it did happen in our dreams that Adam called the 4th down. We kicked 1, then we came back down. We stopped him, came down and kicked the game winner. So we can imagine how that would have taken place. But I didn't have to, because then even since you both were really close, or Brandon kind of got his on your wish, Brandon still had the score differential win.
Yeah.
So either way, it's fair. Brandon wins this week. Clinton goes first on the score prediction.
Yeah, and and for the record, I'm good with it. I think it's the just decision. I like it.
Thank you.
All right, you all know that I do like to check in on the weather. I think weather matters a whole lot, and it's supposed to rain, guys. It's supposed to rain. So it's called for rain all morning in Seattle on Sunday, and it's supposed to rain by kickoff and kind of keep on at least drizzling throughout the game. That's going to depress some things, not just fans and not just the clouds, but that's going to depress some of the score. It makes it more difficult to be more accurate. Sometimes it's more difficult to get after the passer when it's raining too, that you just don't have the grip that you want. So we win this game. It's closer than we all want it to be, 23-17. We don't get the offensive explosion that we're hoping for and expecting. Again, the weather's going to play a factor, but we do win, but it's way tighter than we all want it to be. 23-17 Seahawks.
Okay, Brandon?
I'm down on the defense. Clinton thinks this Arizona Cardinals team in the rain can score 17.
More than they did against the Lambs in beautiful weather.
That's fine. That's fine. If that's the way you want to go, I'm going to go with our Seahawks getting the win. They've won by 10 points each of the last 2 games against the Cardinals. Let's make it 3 in a row. Seahawks win 24-14.
24-14. I'd love to see some red zone improvement. A lot of things I like to see in this game. I don't normally do my prediction. I'm not going to give the score. Here's what I believe. Most versions of the multiverse have us dominating this game.
Ooh, I like it.
As we look ahead. And I think we're going to end up in one of those versions of the multiverse. I believe a dominant performance is on the horizon for this game.
I like it. I would love nothing more than for that to come true. And Brandon, we could tie it up at 3-3 if that's the case.
That'd be beautiful.
I hope so, guys. I hope we can.
I'm not winning based on score this week, Clinton. I have to cut you off and jump in because I'm winning based on my wish.
Oh, okay. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Red zone touchdowns.
Red zone touchdowns. Let's get the red zone touchdowns though. Like that's still the thing. That's the biggest thing. Going to keep hitting that. We need to figure out ways Pete was asked about this very specifically, like what's going on in the red zone, and it's a lot of vapid. We know we're not. It's there, but we didn't have time. We're not executing.
I don't want him to give it away to the world. Here's what we're going to do next time we get to the red zone. I'm going to put it on the radio.
I totally understand. He's got to be guarded with it. And a little bit of honesty that we're not, again, I'll say we're not creating space. The space gets more condensed. It's more crucial down there. And we're not scheming in a way that creates space with the types of players that we do have. We have shifty guys. Lockett's still shifty. JSN is shifty. Let's use them that way in the red zone, mesh concepts. Let's create space. That would be a huge, huge difference. I would love to be celebrating, Brandon, your wish, 2 touchdowns, red zone, Geno. I'm with you.
And yours, Clinton, where our defense outscores their offense. I would enjoy that one too.
Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. A lot of nice things.
All right, gentlemen, what if we say go Hawks?
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks. It's not in the cards, Cardinal fans. Sorry.
And you can take that to the bank.
Hey.